Okay, so to finish the story, when I was just recording the How in the Grief Did We Get Here part one, which I didn't realize was going to just be a part one, my son came home and I needed to get some stuff around for him. But so what I was talking about was my childhood best friend who, in the later years, we reconnected, had been diagnosed with breast cancer, was treated for breast cancer, got through that, um, was hospitalized for liver failure. And her kids got a hold of me. And at first, when they were asking questions, because they were looking for, her and I both have implanted spinal cord stimulators. And they were trying to find out if she was able to have an MRI because they were trying to diagnose her what was going on. And I told them, and I said, as I was saying, I said to her son, um, is she having problems because she's drinking, or is she drinking because she's having problems? Because I know her. I knew her through and through. And he hung up. And then I got a phone call. I don't remember if it was several days or a week or so later that she wasn't doing really well and she really wanted me to come up and visit the hospital. So I got a ride. My mom and I went up, sat with her for through one and a half Lifetime movies for sure. We sat and talked, and she was explaining to me that she did have liver failure, and um, part of the issue was that she was her drinking. And that was the first time in her life she ever admitted to me that that she had issues because of her drinking, that her drinking was an issue. And so I was glad to hear that. I thought, okay, well, we're going to get through this. You're going to, she said she's been sober for the length of time she'd been hospitalized over the last 6 weeks. So um, she'd been sober for 6 weeks, and that she couldn't be considered for a liver transplant unless she was sober for 6 months. And she was, counting. I'm started on that, and I'm working on towards that, and everything's going to be okay. And that's what I thought. And then I want to say 2 days after that visit in the hospital, I got a call from her daughter that she said to me, if you wish to see mom, you need to come to the hospital today. And so I called my mom and I said, we need to go. We got to go to the hospital right now. Girlfriend is in intensive care and it's not good. So my mom and I packed up some stuff so that we could be sustained, food, drink, and we packed it up and went to the hospital and spent the entire day at the hospital while my friend was in a coma, dying. She's younger than me. I don't know if I mentioned that in part one. She's the same age as my little brother, 3 years younger than me. She's dying of liver failure. I was devastated. I remember we spent a lot of time in the room. We were waiting for her brothers who both live out of state. Um, One lives in Florida and one lives in Illinois. The brother from Florida had flew up to near the brother in Illinois, and they were in a car together coming. And did I mention brother from Florida is a retired police officer? So they were in a vehicle coming as fast as they could to be there before their sister passed, which I was so grateful for because both of their parents are gone, and I knew that she needed to, even in a coma, she was going to need to sense that her brothers were there and they were there for her and that they loved her. And I wanted for them to have that opportunity to get there and say, "Hey, we love you. We're sorry this is going on." But um things were getting worse and worse, and the brothers got there, and excuse me, everybody was asked to leave so the brothers could spend a little time with her. And that was understandable. I mean, she had a room full of people all day. And we knew it was nearing the end. That was like getting pretty darn late for me. It was after dark, and I don't usually go out much after dark. Um, she we had the opportunity, they were giving people the opportunity to go in and say goodbye, and then the family was going to stay in the room, just that her kids, her brothers, close family was going to stay in the room with her. So they were giving people an opportunity, alone friends that had gathered. They were giving us each an opportunity to go in the room and have a few minutes by ourselves with her. And when it was our turn, my mom and I went in the room, and I just started thinking, how do we get here? How how do we get here that she's younger than me and she's not going to live another day? How does that happen? And I mean, and I know that she drank a lot, and I know that that caused a lot of issues, but oh my goodness, she wasn't a bad person. She just had a drinking problem. And now she wasn't going to get a second chance with this drinking problem. And I held her hand, and I laid my head down on her forearm, and I just cried, and I just said, "Please don't leave me, friend. Please. Please don't leave. I just I just wasn't ready. Don't leave me." But and then we sat in the waiting room for probably another hour or two, and then finally my mom and I decided that, it would be best if we just left the family and let them, be with her. She was taken care of. She had her family around her, her new husband, which wasn't so new anymore, and her kids and her brothers were all there, and both there, and her kind of adopted parents, not really adopted, but another best friend, her parents and her were there, and they kind of had taken her under their wing when her parents died. And now, as a matter of fact, during the all this transition in the years past since, I mean, not years, Tracy, wake up. In the time since she has passed, those same parents of, the age of my parents have now taken her kids under their wing. They're part of their family too. They always have been. And so now they're continuing the tradition, and it's just sad that they don't have a mom anymore, and they're still young children. I mean, they're not children, they're adults, young adults. They're still young adults, and they should have had so many more years with their mom, but it's gone. And that's kind of how I worked through my grief with her, is that I tried to justify it, to say, well, she knew that with the meds that she took, she shouldn't be drinking, and yet she continued to drink. Um, so did I think that she kind of did that to herself? In a way, I feel that way. But I also know that a drinking problem is a drinking problem, and it's a disease as much as my chronic pain is a disease. That, yeah, you had an effect in the beginning, and you made that choice to take that first drink of alcohol, but when you did that, you didn't necessarily intend to become an alcoholic. And that's what had happened with her. And I certainly don't discount her life for that, but I could kind of justify, if she would have taken better care of herself, maybe, just maybe, she would still be here. So I had that going on, and I talked to my best friend, my adulthood best friend, who I'd been friends with since before I had my first child. We've been like sisters. And um I would call her and talk to her. She was basically had lost her job and was basically giving hospice care to her mother-in-law. She was going out to her mother-in-law's every single day, and she would get out there in time to get her up, get her breakfast, and I think that they had someone come at night, but she would spend the day with her, and she would help. She was going through some of the things in the house that were going to need to be done. I mean, they knew her mother-in-law. she was in her 90s, that it was time. It was getting her time. And she was working on, taking care of things for her and helping her out and feeding her and getting her food. She would get her dinner ready before she headed back home to have dinner with her husband. And well, she was the kind of person. Barb was the person that was my friend's name, Barb. She was the person that everybody called because Barb would have given you the shirt off her back if she thought that's what you needed. Not just to her friends and her family, but to anybody. There's not a person on this earth that met her that doesn't love her. And I was sitting at home watching TV with my husband on Valentine's Day in the evening. Ooh, big romantic night, huh? Um, it was early evening. I don't think he had been home from work that long. And my instant messenger went off with a phone call, and it was her nephew. And I thought, uh-oh, this is not good. I don't know if I want to handle this. And in my mind, was thinking something happened to her husband and she just wasn't able to call me because she was overtaken by grief from her husband. Um, so I said to my husband who was calling, he left a message, call me back. Um, whew, and I was like, I think this is going to be news I don't want to hear. So, but I knew I had to. So with my husband and my son with me, I made the phone call, and when his Facebook picked up, when his instant message picked up, it was my best friend's husband that talked to me. And he said, Trace, Barb's dead. And I'm telling you, that was like the end of my world. She was such a good friend to me for so many years, and she just did so much for me and my husband and my kids. I mean, my kids call her Aunt Barb, and they call her husband Uncle Larry. They love them like they are family. They were family. They were the chosen family that we chose to spend time with. And that's it. She was gone. And I said, "What happened? How can this happen?" She was, 64 years old. How does this happen? Just had turned 64. And her husband said, Trace, they don't know what happened. She was his sister, who since their mom had her mother-in-law had passed, his sister, her sister-in-law had been diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. And after Barb and Larry were doing their Valentines together, his sister had called and said, I'm having trouble with my oxygen machine. Can you come and take a look at it? And being who Barb was, she was like, sure, I'll be right there. And so they finished up their little Valentine celebration, and she got in her car and she made it down the street, which is about a block away, at a stop sign with her foot on the brake. That's how they found her. Slumped over at the stop sign, nothing. They had to break the window. The emergency when the emergency responders, when they got there, they had to break the window to get in, and she just was gone. She was already gone. And I thought, how can how as a Christian, I kept thinking she was like always the one I looked up to as such a Christian role model. How does that happen to people like her? Why is she gone so soon? Too soon. She had so much more to do in this world, and why? Why was she gone? And she had the hugest heart. And how could God take her like that? But I know that He didn't just take her to spite the rest of us, but that it was her time to go to heaven and rest. but my heart wasn't ready for that. So after the funeral, I was kind of shut down. I went in my room. I would stay in my pajamas for days, and I wouldn't get out of bed for days. And I started watching YouTube. I had always been a YouTube watcher. I would periodically watch some videos when I didn't really have anything else to do, but I started watching YouTube. And I started getting in live chats. And when I did that, I found some friends. And that's what I really needed, because the thing that I thought the worst was that where what am I gonna do? I don't drive anymore because of the medications that I take. My childhood best friend is gone, my adult best friend is gone, and I felt like I had no other friends in the world. And it was rough. It was really rough. It still is, obviously. But the I started talking to people on YouTube, and I felt like at least I had some friends, somebody I could talk to, and uh, and then my aunt, who was like a second mother to me, she and also a very good friend of my best friend, she said to me, "Tracy, you have to get up. You have to get dressed. You have to shower. You have to go on with your life." But I thought, how how is the world still even turning without her here? Um, so Aunt Joyce, being the loving person she is, she called Barb's husband Lair. And Lair called me, and he's like, "Girlfriend, we are never going to get over this, but we've got to get through it. And you need to get your butt up and you need to go on. You know, she would want you to go on." So here I am. When I found the Porch Church Network, and Casey and Darlene and Kimmy, Borderline Hoarderish, and Derek, NASCAR Man 33, 45. When I found them and they accepted me for who I am, um, then I thought, okay, we can get through this. I can get through this. I have some people that I can be friends with. And Marco M, no, I don't have a car. We do have a car, but my husband is my husband works. And so since I don't drive, it's just kind of silly for us to have two vehicles. And he he has to use it for work. So I mean, there's no point in us having a vehicle sit out here that I really can't drive, because and it's the reason it's not that I can't drive. I do have a driver's license and I could drive, but I take pretty strong medication. I take pretty strong medication, so I don't drive. I don't drive. And anyways, back to my conversation. So the Porch Church Network and my friends here on YouTube saved me. They saved me from never leaving my house, and quite potentially eventually having suicidal ideology. Right now, um, I don't. I don't know how I would have gotten through the horrendous grief that I was feeling without friends and I have made some good friends here that I know I could go to if I needed a shoulder to cry on, and I know I could go to if I needed someone to talk to, and they're real. They're real people, and I feel they're real. And even though we may not live right next door to each other, that we could, spend time having coffee in the same room. Darlene and I have coffee virtually at our own kitchen tables, but together. And together, I think that's how we all get through life. We work together. We find friends. We move forward. Um, Even though I thought the world would stop spinning without Barb on this planet, she's in heaven now, and she is my guardian angel. I know she is, and I know she's looking down on me. And I think she led me, and between her and God, they led me to do this and to get online and to tell my story and find new friends and to show me that even if I don't leave my house Monday through Friday during the day because my husband has to work, that I have people that I can talk to and I'm going to be okay. Nana's going to be okay. So that's pretty much how my grief got me here, and how the Porch Church Network is healing my grief. And I appreciate Reverend Casey so much, and his mom and mama. They're just the most amazing family. I'm so grateful for them. And Kimmy, Destiny, Derek, you guys are amazing, and I love you. Thank you.